Okay. Um, yeah, welcome everyone. Good to see you all again. So this is the last session on Bodhichitta on this module. I mean, it's the last teaching session. We have two meditation sessions next week and the following week. But in the teaching sessions, we're a little bit behind, so we're doing two sessions in the time of one today. So I think last week we finished looking at the method of exchanging self and others for generating bodhicitta. So we worked up to Tonglen. So this week, so basically we have to do four things in the session today. So first, we'll do kind of a meditation on how to combine the two techniques of generating bodhicitta. So there's the 7 steps of the sevenfold cause and effect method. Yeah, His Holiness teachings are there. Oh, is it? I don't know. I have to check the schedule. Marianne's asking me in the chat about His Holiness teachings.
Yes,
I can check right now.
We scheduled, because Venerable Namjong is in the area, we had scheduled him at the center next week.
Okay, so we skip a week, is it? Okay. Oh, yeah. I have that. Yeah, great. Yeah, I have that. So next week, okay. Venerable Namjong, and then the next 2 weeks after that is me. Okay, great.
Thank you.
I forgot. Okay, so anyway, here at the beginning, we'll just kind of meditate. Remember, like we did before, we meditated on the 7 steps of the sevenfold cause and effect method for generating bodhicitta, recognizing all sentient beings as your mother, and so forth. Just briefly meditate on each step. So we'll do the same thing now, but just combine both methods together. So there's 11 steps in total. So we'll spend, I don't know, 20 minutes or a little bit more meditating on that. And then, then we'll look at taking the Bodhisattva vow through a ritual for taking the precepts of there's 2 different ones. Taking the aspiring bodhicitta precepts through a ritual. And then if one actually wants to take the Bodhisattva vows, then it's generating the engaging bodhicitta and taking the vows of Bodhisattva vows. So we'll just talk briefly about them. And then about the 6 perfections, very briefly. And then I thought we conclude today's session with the King of Prayers, because it's a very inspiring prayer on, which very vividly kind of portrays the Bodhisattva's conduct. So I thought that'd be a nice way to conclude the session today. Okay, so get comfortable wherever you are to meditate for a little while. And I'll share my screen to show. I have slides with each step of how to combine written. Okay. So first, just before I say any more, just get comfortable in your meditation posture and turn your mind inwards, check the state of your own mind, and then practice focusing your attention on an object, either your breath or the nature of your mind or visualized object for a minute or so. And then briefly generate your own motivation for engaging in this session on bodhicitta. And then visualize yourself surrounded by all sentient beings, as we've done before. So with your mother of this life to your immediate left, and all your female family, grandmothers and aunts and spouse and daughters and so forth to your left and behind you. And feel how you're connected with them in this life. And then visualize your father of this life at your immediate right, and then all your male family and friends to your right and behind you. And then imagine those whom you're most prone to become angry or irritated with, whom you feel are antagonize you, seated directly in front, facing towards you. A little bit lower down than you, it's usually the way you visualize. And then imagine all the other sentient beings in the universe, humans, animals, and beings of other realms, all in human form, seated all around one, filling all the space. So then for this meditation, we want to visualize directly in front of us one representative from each of the three groups, right? So in order to help practice equanimity and equalizing. So visualize directly in front of you, then one person from your group of friends and family, and one person from those who you have a neutral attitude towards, the strangers, and then one person from the group of enemies, the ones we're more prone to become angry with. So imagine these three individuals in front of you, a couple meters or a few meters distant. So before we start, maybe it's helpful to think how, just remember how myself and all these other sentient beings are equal in having the potential to achieve full enlightenment because of the nature of our minds, and are equal in experiencing manifold sufferings, all different kinds of problems, confusion, sickness, and so forth, tragedies. And so therefore it's very imperative that I do something to benefit myself, benefit others. And one of the best things I can do is to become fully enlightened, and that begins by aspiring to the state of full enlightenment. So therefore, I'll meditate on bodhicitta. So we begin. So we'll meditate gradually on these 11 steps, spending a few minutes on each step. So we begin with first equanimity, as it says on the screen here. Equanimity, that's free from attachment and aversion. So here it's primarily ourselves. So we try to check our own minds and make sure our sense of concern for all other sentient beings is free from attachment to some and aversion to others, and a sort of disregard, like a neutral disregard for strangers. All right, so just take a couple of minutes. We'll just do very briefly and check that. Try to reduce your sense of, unrealistic expectation of attachment for friends and family. And then reduce your aversion. So focus on the three individuals in front of you first. And then try to reduce the sense of aversion and increase the sense of affection for the enemy. And make sure you have a sincere sense of concern for the stranger. So try to generate an equal sense of concern for the three individuals visualized directly in front. That's unbiased by attachment and anger. So then we'll move to the next step, recognizing that all sentient beings have been your mothers. So here we think about how we've had countless past lives, and in each life we've had not only mothers, also fathers, friends, kind parents, kind grandparents, aunts and uncles, and relatives, children. So think about how all sentient beings, without excluding one, have been very extremely kind to us in these different roles. So usually we start with our mother, because in this life, oftentimes it's our mother who's been the most selflessly kind and caring for us. but we can think of other, others as well. So, but think about especially how in past lives, all sentient beings have been similarly kind to us from life to life. So, and also, especially, we'll try to focus on these three representatives of the three classes of beings visualized in front of oneself. So, especially thinking how they've been our kind mothers and father, brother, sister, and so forth from life to life. And then recollecting their kindness. So, both the ordinary and special ways of recollecting their kindness. So we can recollect their kindness both as having been our mothers, but also, in other ways, they've been kind to us in other different roles from life to life in countless different ways. And then also recognizing their kindness in the sense that even, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and everything virtuous, in the world has arisen from great compassion, of which they're also an object. So even the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha have arisen independence upon these three sentient beings visualized in front of us and all sentient beings in general. Right. So in many, many different ways, as many as you can fit in a few minutes, think of how these beings have been kind to us. Mhm. And then next, the fourth step, generating wish to repay their kindness. Mhm. So continuing to think about how all other sentient beings, and especially these three visualized in front of us, have been kind to us in countless different ways in this life and past lives. then feeling a sense of their kindness, then generate the wish to use one's own life, one's own body and mind, one's capacities to repay their kindness. Mm. So then the next step is contemplating the equality that exists between self and others. Mm. So here we want to recognize how we have a sort of biased concern in that we generally are concerned more about our own welfare than the welfare of others. So here it's strongly related to emptiness, thinking how, generally we are more concerned with our own welfare than that of others because we regard our us as a self and that as inherently more important than other. Um, so here we think about how, the identification of me as a self is just in relation to others. It's just, and that considering myself as more important than others is just a habitual way of relating to myself, which is totally relative, that I can change that. So here we think about how others, each other individual, especially these three visualized in front of us, they're equally a self in regard to themselves. And in regard to them, I'm other and I'm less important. So both those labels, self and other, are just relative. And that considering, one as more important than the other is just relative. What's going on? And so, in an objective viewpoint, like, the well-being of myself and others is completely equal. And recognizing this, I should generate a sort of equal sense of concern for others as I have for myself. So spend a couple minutes trying to think about that and generate an equal sense of concern for others as one has for oneself. And the next step is to think about the manifold faults resulting from self-cherishing. So thinking about all the faults that arise from having a selfish or self-centered or egoistic attitude. How this gives rise to all our irritation, anger, attachment, jealousy, arrogant pride, and so forth. So think about all the faults of the self-centered attitude. And then spend a couple minutes thinking about all the benefits from cherishing others, from having an altruistic attitude, caring about others, considering others more than oneself, putting others first. So think of all the different benefits of, cherishing others. Mhm. So next is the actual visualization of exchanging or interchanging self and others. So this is Tonglen, essentially. Uh, so you can either, we'll spend about 4 minutes on this in total. So you can either just do like 2 minutes just taking. So especially these three individuals visualize in front of you, think of the suffering they experience, and then imagine your own self-cherishing, your own selfish mind becomes, your own selfish attitude becomes like a black ball at your heart. And as you inhale, you draw out the suffering of others, wishing that it ripen upon you yourself so that they can be free from it. So as you inhale, it becomes, so their suffering comes out from their bodies like black smoke and then transforms into like a lightning bolt or a powerful laser beam and strikes the self-cherishing at your heart and destroys it. Right? So that's the taking part. So you can do that for 2 minutes or you can combine the two. And then the giving part is you think, you wish, may all of my good fortune, my possessions, my reputation, all of my merits, even my body, may I offer it to others in whatever form is pleasing and brings them happiness. And then as you exhale, imagine sending forth all your possessions, your roots of merit, your body, even as like light rays that transform into whatever is beneficial, either physical or mental states that are most beneficial to these three individuals visualized in front of you. And they receive them and become, very happy up to full enlightenment, right? So in that way, practice giving and taking for about 4 minutes. Mhm. So next is the 10th step of 11, the development of altruism. So this means actually the special attitude where we think, I myself must become, no, where we think I must take a personal responsibility to free all sentient beings from suffering and lead them to full enlightenment. So here, Pabonka Rinpoche says in his commentary, when you examine whether you have, so having done this Tonglen, giving and taking, like we have been just now, he says, when you examine whether you have in fact managed to do any giving and taking, like taking on the suffering of others, giving them actual happiness, you will find that it has only been a visualization. You have not at present actually achieved anything substantial for the sake of other beings. So now feel, I shall do something to actually bring this about. And by shouldering this responsibility, you'll develop altruism, or it's more like the special attitude, taking responsibility to free others from suffering and lead them to enlightenment. Right? So try to generate um, that sense of personal responsibility for accomplishing the welfare of others. And then finally, try to generate actual bodhicitta. So the mind thinking, in order to accomplish the welfare of other sentient beings, I myself must become fully enlightened. So mind, remember, main mind focused on um, one's own achievement of full enlightenment in order to fully in order to fully accomplish one's own welfare, and more importantly, to work for the welfare of all sentient beings to the best of one's ability. So spend a couple minutes trying to generate that mind of bodhicitta. Okay, so we can relax our attention there. It's the 11 steps, the combined method for generating bodhicitta. So before we go on to the other things, did you have any questions about that? Any of that? It's kind of a nice way to bring together everything we've learned so far in this module. From the definition of bodhicitta at the beginning, then we did one session on equanimity, the importance of generating equal concern for others that's free from attachment to some and aversion towards others. And then the sevenfold method, the sevenfold cause and effect method for generating bodhicitta, based primarily on remembering the kindness of our own mother in this life, and then extending that identification to all sentient beings. And then the method of exchanging self and others, where we remember, sort of our own, how we have a concern for our own welfare, a very deep, innate concern for our own welfare, and recognize all other sentient beings equally have that, and all of their concern for themselves is equally important. And there's no real rational reason, in a way, that I should be more concerned with myself as opposed to others. And there's so many faults with doing that. Oops. I keep looking outside. Actually, you might have noticed there's a whole troop of monkeys like running around me. So I'm in an apartment in Dharamsala. I'm at Tushita Meditation Center, and there's a big forest around here, and there are a lot of monkeys. And just right now, there's a whole troop of like the juvenile monkeys, and they're really hyperactive, and they try to pry open all the doors and windows, looking in at you all the time. So, and I think maybe I forgot to lock my door after I came up with breakfast just a little bit ago. And you have to lock the door because they know how to like pull on the lever and open it. So I keep thinking, oh no, they're going to open the door and then they'll run in and grab food from in your room, even you're sitting there. So anyway, and we'll break in a minute. I'll go make sure the door's locked. But yeah. Anyway, if there are any questions, I can try to answer now. Otherwise, we'll go on to look at, just talk about the ritual. There's a kind of a ritual, a ceremony for generating bodhicitta. That's what we have to discuss next. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and look at that then. Sure. Okay, so this is session 6 on the Bodhisattva vows and practicing the 6 perfections, these 2. Right, so the Bodhisattva vows is taken in a ceremony. So this is, and it's based on, so the whole Lam Rim, which is kind of the basis for this whole course, Discovering Buddhism. So the Lam Rim, this kind of way of presenting the Buddha's teachings, was first presented or composed by Lama Atisha. So he's one of the last great Indian Buddhist masters to come to Tibet in like 1000 AD, 1100 CE. And so this mention of the ritual for generating bodhicitta is based on that root Lam Rim text, where it says here, those who wish to train after they generate the spirit of enlightenment. So that's the translation for bodhicitta. So after one is meditated on and generated some sense of this attitude, wishing to become enlightened in order to benefit others, bodhicitta, cultivate with effort for a long time the 4 bases of Brahma. So that's the 4 immeasurables. That's another name for the 4 immeasurables, the basis of Brahma, because by meditating on immeasurable love, compassion, equanimity, and joy, it can become a cause to take rebirth in the Brahma realm, which is one of the pure realms of the desire realm, I believe. Anyway, it's an upper rebirth as a god. So thereby they clear away attachment and jealousy, right? So meditating in short on love and compassion and bodhicitta, you clear away attachment and jealousy and produce the spirit of enlightenment through the correct ritual, right? So that's what we're mainly discussing here is, in short, it's saying after you've practiced bodhicitta for a long time in conjunction with meditating on immeasurable love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, then it's good to strengthen that by taking like the precepts of related to bodhicitta through a ritual, right? So then down here, there's two levels of bodhicitta that can be taken through a ritual. One is called aspiring bodhicitta, where simply, one simply aspires to become enlightened in order to benefit others without actually engaging in like tangible practices to quickly become enlightened. So it's and then the second level is called engaging bodhicitta, whereby not only it's a stronger form of bodhicitta, where not only one aspires to become full enlightened, but one, especially in the ceremony, one actually takes vows to abandon certain kinds of destructive behavior, and especially destructive attitudes that would go against one's aspiration to become enlightened. And one promises to engage in practices to daily enhance one's attitude of bodhicitta and work towards actually becoming enlightened. So there are actually two different types of bodhicitta: aspiring bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. They're analogous to, like, we're sitting where you are and thinking, oh, I think I'll go to the beach today. But just thinking go to the beach, but not actually doing anything practical to prepare and go there. Versus like thinking, I'll go to the beach, and then jumping up from your seat and starting to gather together your towel and your drinks and your picnic lunch and, I don't know, your boogie board or whatever, and go pack up the car and then drive to the beach. So there's a big difference between thinking about doing something and actually getting up from where you are and start engaging in activities to actually accomplish that aim, right? So that's the difference between aspiring bodhicitta is just thinking, yeah, how wonderful it would be, to become enlightened. It's such a nice idea, but not really doing much. Whereas engaging bodhicitta is you actually you're more actively engaging in practices to achieve enlightenment. So then there's a ritual related to each. So it's said that the aspiring bodhicitta ritual is what His Holiness the Dalai Lama regularly gives in online talks or in teachings. He quite freely gives that because that's suitable to give to anyone who has any kind of appreciation for the ideal of becoming enlightened, and for even just for great compassion, for the ideal of using one's life to benefit others in an altruistic way. It said it's suitable to invite them to join this kind of aspiring bodhicitta ritual. So that His Holiness regularly gives. Whereas the engaging bodhicitta ritual, in the course of that, you actually take vows, the 18 root vows and the 46 branch vows related to bodhicitta. So that's only suitable to give for people who are actually capable and willing and desiring to learn about those vows and keep them, right? Which is a much bigger degree of engagement. So that is much more rarely given. So then aspiring bodhicitta. So if you participate, so this is a kind of ritual, it's a kind of thing, if a Lama comes to the center, like Ocean of Compassion Center, for instance, you can request, a Lama to give the ritual of aspiring bodhicitta. Yeah. So if one participates in this ritual of aspiring bodhicitta, then following that, there are certain precepts that one should keep, but it's more like advice to follow. It's not like vows that you have that if you break them, it's some kind of heavy non-virtuous thing. It's just like there's this advice to follow in order to, for these two purposes here. A, how to guard one's aspiring bodhicitta in this lifetime, right? So in this lifetime, and the practices there are basically thinking about the benefits of bodhicitta. Like we covered at the beginning of this module, you think about the benefits of bodhicitta every day or regularly, so that you maintain your enthusiasm for generating that mind of bodhicitta and then gradually becoming enlightened more and more, so that you don't let that enthusiasm just completely fade away and disappear, but you try to cultivate it every day. Yeah, there are a few other, I think, advices that I don't remember, but the main way is to think about the benefits of generating bodhicitta. Oh, well, and then also there's a couple of verses that you recite every day, and you actually generate that attitude of bodhicitta. So you make some time to actually, spend a few minutes and actually generate bodhicitta again and again every day. So that in this lifetime, it doesn't decline. And then the second are precepts related to how to maintain and enhance your practice of bodhicitta in future lives, right? So these are precepts related more to like not engaging in actions like lying to your spiritual companions, or like disrespecting your teacher, your spiritual teachers, or intentionally deceiving other sentient beings, or getting angry at and belittling bodhisattvas. So things that, actions that would create quite severe karmic obscurations to being able to continue generating bodhicitta in future lives. Like if you're separated from any spiritual teachers in future lives, or separated from spiritual friends, or you've created some kind of animosity towards bodhisattvas, then that all becomes, karmic obscurations to being able to meet with, these kind of teachings and have interest in and have faith in and cultivate, this attitude of bodhicitta in future lives. So there's the 4 black things to abandon and the 4 white actions to engage in, which is like having respect for and doing actions that please your teachers, being honest and transparent with all your friends and associates, especially your spiritual friends. And then again and again, appreciating and thinking of the benefits of bodhicitta. There are a couple others. Can you hear that? The monkeys are screeching outside my window. Can you hear? Yeah? Yeah, they're running. There's like my window here. I'll show you. I'll just show you for a second. I think you'll see. Let's see. There's the window. Just watch for a second. I hope one comes by. But they're not coming in. No, anyway, right out the window, they'll come and just suddenly like stick their head up, in the bottom, or just walking by again. No, they're not coming. It's kind of bizarre to have these big like monkeys just walking right out. They're just like, 1-2 meters away from me. Luckily, there's a good sturdy window there. But okay, so that's aspiring bodhicitta. How to guard one's aspiring bodhicitta in this lifetime, and how to maintain and enhance your practice of bodhicitta in the future. And then, so then just a bit about the bodhisattva, engaging bodhicitta. So you take bodhisattva vows, where you vow to abandon things like praising oneself and belittling others, not recollecting bodhicitta, the benefits of bodhicitta every day, not sharing your possessions with others if they request you, not helping others out of kind of spite, even though you have the ability, working to help others when they request help, out of malice. Um, or especially like giving up any sentient being, like any sentient being thinking, oh, I work for the benefit of all sentient beings except that one. That one, forget about. That's one of the heavy ones. And also just giving up the thinking, oh, it's too difficult to become enlightened. Forget, it takes too long. Forget about it. I'm just going to work to be free from suffering myself alone. That's one of the main ones. So those, but whereas the pratimoksha vows, the refuge vows, have more to do with abandoning non-virtues of the body and the speech, like abandoning killing, stealing, lying, adultery, and so forth. The bodhisattva vows have more to do with abandoning non-virtues of the mind. So like being miserly and being selfish, not helping others when they request, belittling others and wanting to, put oneself up, and then giving up the wish to use your life to benefit others, and giving up the wish to achieve the aspiration to achieve full enlightenment, and so forth. Now this one. See. Can you see? Yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's about bodhicitta. So I mean let's see, the vow. I mean the ritual for generating bodhicitta. So maybe let's take a break. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then if you have any questions, we can discuss that. Otherwise, we'll go on to just briefly talk about the 6 perfections. Okay, so a 5-minute break. Mm-hmm.
A
Okay.
really huge monkey
Let's...
walked
What?
by. A really huge monkey walked by.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a big alpha male out there. He's yeah. They're each these juvenile monkeys. It's like they're each trying to prove that they're the strongest. So they're quite aggressive. They can be a little dangerous. Yeah. You see, I mean, you can watch them. They're really, I mean, monkeys really are curious. Like Curious George. They want to get into everything, but they're really, I don't know. It's like they're really hyperactive. They can never just calm down and settle down. They're always like jumping around, running around, kind of. There's so much fighting with each other, even not really violent, but always challenging each other, and like it's like they can never really kind of relax. There's always another monkey trying to like do something to the other one.
That's right. Monkey mind is such a perfect term.
Yeah, it really is. Like there's different kinds of monkeys. There's a different kind of monkey, langur monkeys, who are much more calm. But these monkeys, I'm not sure what they're called, but they're really, really high. They're like their minds are very agitated. You can see. Yeah. Yeah. So any questions about the anything so far? The ritual for generating bodhicitta or anything else? No. Okay. Then why don't we look at the 6 perfections briefly? And then, I mean, the 6 perfections, well, usually in the presentation of bodhicitta, because bodhicitta is that, remember, it's the mind that's the entrance way to the Mahayana path, right? Remember the definition of bodhicitta, it says something like it's a mind that's in the class of that which is in the entryway to the Mahayana path. So it's by generating uncontrived bodhicitta. So where you you meditate on it such that your mind becomes so habituated, so familiarized to this attitude of wishing to achieve enlightenment in order to benefit others, that it arises spontaneously and more or less continuously. There's some degree of it always present in your mind. Then at that point, you enter the Mahayana path of accumulation. And then the next question is, well, like, what do you do then? So a person who's generated this uncontrived bodhicitta is called a bodhisattva. And then, so the main practices they engage in are the 6 perfections to primarily to themselves develop as practices for themselves to develop on the path towards enlightenment. And then there's the 4 ways of gathering disciples, which is like the method that they use primarily to help others, to develop and cultivate other sentient beings. So the 4 methods for gathering disciples, it's not so much talked about, and we won't cover in this module, but in short, it's things like giving material gifts to others, giving advice, oneself acting in accordance with one's own advice, teaching Dharma to others, and so forth. I don't remember the exact list, but it's things like that, things to gather and benefit, to gather like students, when you feel like you're ready to gather students and then cultivate students on the path. But the main practices bodhisattvas engage in is the 6 perfections. So that's what we'll look at now. Just briefly each. Well, we have a bit of time, but depends how long we spend on discussion group. Maybe I'll just go through the 6 perfections. So this is just to list them. I think we'll go through the 6 perfections briefly and then leave some time for discussion. Have a discussion group we haven't had in a while. Yeah. And then dedicate. So, yeah. So first is, so the 6 perfections are generosity, the perfection of generosity, the perfection of morality or ethical discipline, the perfection of patience, perfection of meditative concentration, and the perfection of wisdom. So first of all, like we have to think about what is, why that word perfection. It's a translation of the Sanskrit prajna paramita, which is translated in Tibetan as Bodhichitta. So in Tibetan, the term that's translated here as perfection, it has the connotation of having gone to the furthest shore. So imagine crossing an ocean or crossing a great river. So having gone beyond that, having gone to the furthest shore of that great river. So here the idea is that, now we're ordinary beings, but we have the potential to achieve full enlightenment. So we have the potential to go beyond samsara, and then beyond that achieve full enlightenment. So the perfections are, an actual perfection of generosity is when we've gone beyond, we've gone beyond samsara, and not only that, we've gone to the farthest shore of our own potential for perfect generosity, right? So we've kind of cultivated, it's like gone beyond in the sense of our potential to fully generate, the capacity to practice generosity until it can be developed to no higher, right? It's developed to the highest degree. Then we've gone beyond in that sense of having, kind of gone to the farthest place we want to go. So then the question is, well, then when, if a bodhisattva who's like an ordinary being like us, when we practice, with the bodhicitta motivation, we practice generosity, is that the perfection of generosity? No, it's not. And then even a bodhisattva, a person who has uncontrived bodhicitta and they're on the path of accumulation or the path of preparation, or even on the path of seeing? Do they have, even on the path of seeing, where they directly realize emptiness, have a non-conceptual mind, having a profound realization of emptiness? Is that the perfection of wisdom? Also, no, because they still have to train in that further. So the actual 6 perfections only exist in the mind of a Buddha, actually. The 6 perfections, the actual 6 perfections, they only exist in the mind of a Buddha. So, but for a person, a bodhisattva who has uncontrived bodhicitta, they engage in the trainings of the 6 perfections. And then for ordinary beings like us, we engage with the motivation of becoming fully enlightened in order to benefit all sentient beings. We can practice generosity, and that's kind of a similitude to the training in the perfection of generosity, right? Or if we practice morality with a bodhicitta motivation, or practice patience, enthusiastic effort, or meditative concentration or wisdom, any practice we engage in, is included. Any Dharma practice we engage in is included in one of those somehow. So when we do that with the aspiration for full enlightenment, with a bodhicitta motivation, then it becomes kind of something that's similar to a practice of one of the 6 perfections. And it becomes a cause for, eventually becomes a cause for our full enlightenment and the full enlightenment of, all sentient beings. So that's why it's so important to spend some time every day generating the motivation of bodhicitta. So just to go through them, maybe say a bit more about each of them one by one. Maybe, I have this other, I'll just show you this other PowerPoint slide that I made. Okay, I have to share my screen for a different I don't know, session that was exclusively on just the 6 perfections. So we don't have time to go through now. Or have kind of like a definition, who trains in the 6 perfections, and then a bit about each one. So one slide about each one. So maybe here, we don't have time to go through all of this, but maybe I'll send it out to you in an email afterwards, so you can have. But basically, to say a bit about, so the perfection of generosity. Well, maybe before I go through each one, I should say, why this order? Why are the perfections in this specific order? Basically, the first 5 of the 6 perfections, generosity, morality, patience, joyous enthusiasm, and meditative concentration, they're all for the purpose of generating wisdom, the perfection of wisdom. Because it's the wisdom realizing interdependent arising and wisdom realizing emptiness that actually is the direct antidote to the ignorance, which is the cause of our circling and cyclic existence. And that same ignorance is the cause of all that obscures our mind from becoming omniscient. So all the obscurations in our mind are fundamentally arise from this ignorance, grasping at an inherent existence, grasping at ourselves and other things as existing from their own side. So the direct antidote to that is the wisdom realizing emptiness. So that's the main thing that bodhisattvas meditate on in conjunction with this, the motivation of bodhicitta, the attitude of bodhicitta. So the first 5 of the 6 perfections are all supports for deepening one's practice of wisdom. But then within those, why generosity first? Because generosity is easiest to practice. And even we don't have particular pure morality, we can't meditate, we don't have good concentration, we don't have a lot of enthusiasm for Dharma practice. But if we learn to enjoy sharing our things with others, our food, our clothes, our time, our house, whatever possessions we have, we start with small possessions and give small gifts and give to others, and we see it's pleasing to ourselves, it's pleasing to others. We accumulate merit, and it's not that difficult to do, right? So with the attitude of bodhicitta, we can start just by practicing, generosity, giving different things to others. And that goes against our miserliness and attachment. Yeah. And then like it says here, the perfection of generosity is not giving all things to all beings. So if the perfection of generosity mean we gave everything we have to all beings and we give all beings everything they need, then the Buddhas, nobody would have perfected it, because we would all have everything we need, because all the past Buddhas would have given us everything we need. But so rather, the perfection of generosity is having the attitude wishing to give everything, to all beings. It's the attitude of generosity. That's complete opposite of miserliness. So wishing we're able to give, that wishing, especially that all beings had everything that they need. And also thinking of the things we have, also practicing the perfection of generosity. It doesn't mean we have to give away everything we had, because then, we would quickly get cold, we'd become hungry, and we'd become resentful of the Buddhist advice to give away everything we had. So we have to be realistic, and keep enough money to provide for our sustenance, and have comfortable home, and have the possessions that we need to do the different work we need. And actually, in a way, it's like the more resources we have, think of it like the more money we have, the more we can use the money to support our own Dharma practice and the Dharma practice of others. The better home we have, the more we can provide for others by when we host guests. We can use our resources to attend teachings, or to be able to do retreats. To be able to do retreat, we need to be able to pay for a place to stay and someone to make us food and things like that. So we need resources for our practice, but rather than thinking of our resources in just a totally selfish way, we should think of using the resources we have to support ourselves and also support others, right? To support our own Dharma practice, and also think, well, how can I use the resources I have to accomplish the welfare of others? For example, like it's a very good example is like starting a business. If you start your own a business, one motivation is, of course, to improve one's own financial state or whatever, to make a profit. But by the way, if you have employees, you're helping all those people, all those people that you provide work for by generating employment. You're benefiting all those people. So if you had a very small-minded attitude, like, oh, starting a business is just like a capitalistic, selfish enterprise, so I should just, I don't know, work a 9-to-5 job at McDonald's, like, and earn a basic wage and provide my, just enough to make a living for myself. I mean, that's one way to think, and some people might feel more comfortable practicing that way, making a bare minimum income, just having a very simple life, and then practicing on their own. But a more expansive way to think is that, if I start a business, I can generate employment for other people, then I also can have more resources than to use. So to sort of work for the welfare of others in a more vast, kind of expansive way is more like the Bodhisattva kind of way of thinking. But the main point here, generosity doesn't mean giving away everything we have. It means rather the resources we have, we think about how can we use those to benefit others. And one way to think is, how can I even increase my resources so I have more to do to benefit others? In the history of Buddhism, when you look, who are the people who, there's kind of a priest-patron relationship throughout Buddhist practice, especially in Mahayana, where yes, there's certain people like me who and monks and nuns and most of our spiritual teachers who they choose to live a celibate life, take the pratimoksha vows, have few possessions, and really focus their time and energy on their Dharma practice, study and practice. But that's not for everyone. And for people like FPMT or any other Dharma organization, Thich Nhat Hanh's or Sogyal Rinpoche's or any Zen, San Francisco Zen Center, like for any Dharma organization to flourish and be able to benefit many people, they also need sponsorship. They need wealth, because that enables you to do all different things, to have buildings, to host programs, to sponsor people to study and do retreat and things. So we need to think in terms of generosity in an expansive way. How can we not give away everything we have, but rather, use resources and increase the resources we have in order to give more to others, right, in a more meaningful way. So then some divisions of generosity are giving dharma is the highest, giving fearlessness by protecting others from harm, giving material things is the obvious, and then giving love just by being a kind-hearted, loving person, showing you care about others is giving love, right? Yeah, so maybe that's, so, and then maybe a verse from Shantideva, he says, from this moment on, without any sense of loss, I send forth my body and likewise my wealth and my virtues amassed throughout the 3 times in order to help all beings, my mothers. So so when in the meditation we were just doing, when we do the giving, sending out our body, our wealth, let's say our body, our possessions, and our roots of virtue, in imagining they transform into some kind of form which brings well-being to other sentient beings. That's one way of meditating on giving, generosity. So then the next, morality. So morality is the intention to abandon harming others. Together with the basis of that means the afflictive emotions, which would lead us to have the intention to harm others by mentally turning away from harming, right? So morality is basically, deliberately, conscientiously not acting in ways with our body, our speech, or our mind that cause harm to others, and being aware of our own behavior. How does it affect other people? Is it helpful or harmful or neutral? If we see it's harmful, then refrain from it and try to find a different way to do things. So it primarily, morality is the basis for all of the qualities, like the earth is the basis for all that lives. And then there's 3 primary types of morality. The morality of restraint is the one we most commonly think of, refraining from harming others. But then there's also the morality of accumulating virtue. So for us to become, for us to develop our spiritual qualities, to develop patience, to develop wisdom, to develop kindness, we need, to develop all these qualities of mind. It requires a kind of like a fuel of positive energy. That's why, we generate a positive motivation at the beginning of actions. So they generate so those actions thereby generate a positive energy. And then we dedicate at the end, directing that energy towards the accomplishment of different, aims. So one kind of morality is whereby, thinking that I want to use my life to benefit others. I want to become a better person so I can be more helpful to others. But to do that, I need to accumulate merit. So then we do things to accumulate merit, like making offerings, like generating a positive motivation before, at the beginning of each day, and like making prayers at the end. So, and meditating on love, meditating on compassion, all those things are part of our accumulation of virtue. And that's a kind of morality. And then the morality of accomplishing the welfare of other sentient beings, right? So not only should we refrain from harming other sentient beings, but if we just refrain from harming other sentient beings and don't do anything to benefit them, that's kind of a half, sort of a half measure, right? It's like we have this capacity to benefit others, but we don't use that. That's kind of an immoral thing in a way, in this bodhisattva way of looking at morality. So, like His Holiness always says, the best is to not harm. At least we should not harm others, and then if we can, benefit others as much as we can. That's kind of the way to summarize morality. So then the next, patience. Okay, so morality comes after generosity, because morality is more difficult to practice than generosity. So we start by practicing generosity, quite easy. But then as we practice generosity, you'll see, like, it's just like giving people gifts at Christmas time. Sometimes we give people gifts, but then they don't like it. No, they don't like the gifts they give. Or even the things we give them, then they take them and use them in a way that we don't like. They just disregard or break it. And there's a danger that our practice of generosity can lead into a sort of immorality, harming others, generating resentment towards others, or giving. There's a danger also that we give things like, if we, give everyone we know a big bottle of Jack Daniels for Christmas, that might not be such a good idea. It might lead them to misuse it. Or our 5-year-old kid, we give them like a rifle to go out and learn how to shoot stuff, and don't give them any training. So there's a danger that by practicing generosity without a sense of what's harmful and what's not, and wanting to refrain from harm, that the practice of generosity can lead to sort of immoral behavior, also like lying or stealing. So that's why morality is taught after that, generosity, because it's different, it's more difficult to practice on the one hand, and in order to ensure that our generosity is free from fault. But then when we practice morality, not harming others and benefiting others, especially when we work to benefit others, then again, it could be the case that people really don't appreciate it. They don't like what we're doing to try to benefit them. And then we could easily generate resentment and anger. So then we also have to remember to practice patience. So when we're practicing generosity or practicing morality, we need to combine with patience so that those don't become a cause for our resentment and anger. So that's why. And patience is, again, it's more difficult to practice than generosity and morality. Because patience, especially the patience where we don't get angry in the face of being provoked by others, in the face of being criticized, maligned, harmed by others, or taken advantage of, or deceived by others, misled by others. So so patience is, it's a mind, for the mind to not be disturbed by harm done by others, and also by suffering arising. So, but to remain calm and intent on Dharma. So also it could be, by practicing generosity, like it's hard. I remember once a few years ago when I went to visit my family in North Carolina, and I decided I'd never volunteered at a soup kitchen. So I'd always wanted to do that. So I went to a local, through some friends, I made connection with a local Baptist church, which has a big, very well-run kind of soup kitchen, I guess, for lack of a better word. Like they give meals to people who are homeless. So I went, and because I'm a monk, obviously then they put me in, like, there's a line of people giving out, there's a buffet and a line of people dishing out different foods. So first comes the meat, because that's what everybody wants most is, the meat. Then comes like the vegetables and the salad, and desserts are last, right? So they put me first, giving the pieces of meat. But it's not easy, because I remember that time there was some fried chicken from like a local, leftover from a local fast food restaurant, like fried chicken, and maybe some they made there. And then a big thing of ham, like sliced ham. But, and there were one utensil to like pick up the pieces of fried chicken and give it, and then one utensil to pick up the pieces of ham. But after I served the first few people, I thought, oh, no, this utensil for the ham would work much better for the chicken. And so I switched them. But then the next person said, no. You use that utensil for the ham. Don't give me chicken with that. I'm Muslim. I don't eat pork. No. And now you just use that utensil. I'm thinking like, you're homeless. We're giving you free food. What are you complaining about? Like what utensil I used to give you the chicken? Like, and then some people, they're all looking at how much I gave the person in front of them. So I give them, I'm trying to like figure out, okay, how many people are there? How many pieces of chicken do I have? How much chicken can I give to each? So towards the end, it gets a little like, it's not as nice of pieces. There's not as much. You have to make sure you have some for everybody. And then some people complain, oh, that person you gave that big nice wing. Like, I don't want a leg. I want a wing or whatever, a breast. I'm like, come on. So you see, you practice generosity, try to practice morality of benefiting others, but it's not easy. Sometimes it's difficult. So you also have to have like patience. Remember, like, okay, just, sentient beings are deluded. They do things driven by, their afflictive emotions, and there's no point getting upset, getting angry. It just makes everyone unhappy. So, okay, so there's the patience of being indifferent to harm by others. And then there's the patience of accepting suffering arising in one's continuum. Also, when you become tired, like working for a Dharma center, sometimes there's conflicts, you're tired, sometimes there's other things you'd rather be doing, but you have this commitment to do, or you've taken, commitments to do certain prayers and practices every day, and sometimes it's difficult. Or you have sickness arise. So there's all kinds of obstacles that can arise for our Dharma practice. So we have to practice patience with all of those difficulties as well in our own practice. And then the patience of having certainty about Dharma. So the patience of when maybe doubts arise with regard to Dharma, like is this the best path or not? Is this the best practice for me or not? My teacher gave me this advice. Can I really practice that or not? So there's a certain kind of patience of having like a resolve to continue with our Dharma practice. So there's these three kinds of patience with regard to harm done by others, with regard to suffering arising in our own continuum, and with regard to our like steadfast practice of the Dharma. Yeah, this I think I'll skip some verse by Chandakirti. Yeah, these I'll skip. So then the next, enthusiastic effort. So this comes next. Okay, I think. Okay, within the 6 perfections, the first 3 are primarily considered practices for lay people, actually. Generosity, because lay people, compared to monastics, lay people have more possessions, and it's easier for them to practice. So, and then lay people have more situations where they're provoked by others. So it's like, in a way, morality is more important. There's more temptation for lay people to do immoral things than in the lives of monastics in general. And then there's more provocation also to become angry. So the first 3 of the 6 perfections, generosity, morality, and patience, are considered the main practice for lay bodhisattvas, for lay people. Whereas meditative concentration, of course, is what monastics are supposed to be doing. That's why we take up the monastic way of life, to have a more simple life. And then our main practice shouldn't be like having a lot of possessions and going away giving them to people, but rather trying to generate a very focused attention, a very deep kind of focused meditative concentration, and wisdom, realizing emptiness, because that's the ultimate, antidotes to suffering and to obscurations of the mind. But for both lay and monastics, whatever practice we're engaging in, it's necessary to have enthusiastic effort, to have a kind of joyful effort, such that, and this is the antidote to laziness, because we all become lazy. We all sometimes would rather be doing something else, or just think, what's easier to do than this. Just like to sleep and sit around and hang out, with friends and just enjoy the pleasures of samsara. So we're all prone to laziness. And so the antidote to that is to generate real joy in virtuous practice and virtuous practices, supported by the wisdom of what's really going to be good for me in the long term. What brings me a more pure, a kind of satisfying and stable sort of happiness and joy. So the entity of enthusiastic effort is a mind thoroughly inspired to accumulate virtue and accomplish the welfare of sentient beings, as well as the actions of the 3 doors, the body, speech, and mind, that are compelled by such a kind of inspiration. So it's a kind of mind of like inspiration, inspired to joyfully practice Dharma in the broadest sense. It doesn't have to be just Buddha Dharma. So then there's 2 divisions: enthusiastic effort, gathering virtues, so for engaging in virtuous actions, and then the enthusiastic effort, accomplishing the welfare of sentient beings, so for directly, working for other sentient beings. Okay, so that's that. And then meditative concentration is a mind abiding single-pointedly in a virtuous mode of observation. So this is easy, right? This is just, a mind that focuses on its object and then can abide single-pointedly focused on that object without any distraction whatsoever. So, I mean, of course, it's easy to describe, it's not easy to do, but it's, that's kind of what we try to cultivate, is this single-pointed, focused attention. And there's two kinds: worldly concentration and transworldly concentration. So worldly, like meditative concentration, it just means meditative concentration that's not, you can say it's not accompanied by a wish to be free from samsara, or a wish to achieve enlightenment, but rather it's meditative concentration just done, to achieve a more peaceful state of mind in this life, or to achieve meditative concentration such that we can transcend any of the attachment and desires for the desire realm and achieve a sort of bliss that belongs to the upper realms. So, and this is kind of there because, this sort of, maybe in the United States it's not so common, but in the world, especially of India, ancient India and Asia, there's other, people from other religious traditions also practice meditative concentration or other systems of meditation. And their motivation isn't always to transcend samsara. Sometimes it can be a more worldly objective, to have the more kind of peace and power that comes about through having a focused mind. Whereas transworldly concentration, is, generating meditative concentration with at least, the wish to transcend samsara and to achieve full enlightenment. Anyway, that's that. And then wisdom. So there's different kinds of wisdom. Here the definition is quite broad to include many kinds of wisdom. So the definition is that in general, through the discrimination of imputed, in general, it's a thorough discrimination of imputed phenomena, means just things that exist. Here, the wisdom that is a mastery of the 5 sciences and so forth. So in the context of the 6 perfections, it's like all the different kinds of wisdom and knowledge that a bodhisattva needs to generate are included here. Of course, the main one is the wisdom realizing emptiness, which is a direct antidote to the root of samsara, and purifies all the obscurations to omniscience as well. But bodhisattvas also, in order to accomplish the welfare of all sentient beings, they need to know about the 5 sciences, the 5 major sciences, the 5 minor sciences. So things about like medicine, crafts, carpentry and engineering, art, history, literature. There's also the science of grammar, the science of logic and valid cognition, and then the science of Buddha Dharma, knowing about the Buddha Dharma. So all of those are included here, the wisdom knowing about all of those things. So the divisions are wisdom knowing about conventional phenomena, just, ordinary things, wisdom knowing about ultimate phenomena, means emptiness, and then wisdom knowing how to accomplish the welfare of sentient beings. Right? So there's, thousands of different ways to accomplish the welfare of sentient beings. So the attitude of bodhisattva is kind of like the Jesuits in the Catholic Church. I know once I met a group of, I was in a 2-day conference with a group of Jesuits in Bodh Gaya, and I was so shocked that they, one of them was a professor of Buddhist studies, like somewhere in Japan. Another was like a professor of psychology. Now the Jesuits, they typically study a lot, right? Another one was a professor of psychology. Another one was, I think, a professor of like English literature or something. And I asked them, like, how, as a Jesuit, monk or a Jesuit priest, how do you justify studying these things that are so like unrelated to like Christianity and the Catholic Church and the Bible and stuff? And their answer was, the founder of the Jesuit order, I don't remember his name now, but his idea was that, as followers of God, then we should see all sentient beings as children of God. And we should just pursue whatever kind of fields of knowledge there are that we can use to benefit those people who are children of God. So it's a very vast kind of like a bodhisattva view, very vast view. And so by that means, then they justify studying all these different things and then using that knowledge benefit people in very different ways that are not directly related to the Jesuit, the Christian practice. So it's kind of like that. This Bodhisattva ideal of wisdom knowing how to accomplish the welfare of all sentient beings. As a Bodhisattva, you can use all different kinds of knowledge of different things in order to accomplish the welfare of sentient beings. And it's kind of like the more skilled you are in all different ways, the better. So yeah, I find this very refreshing attitude now. And I think it makes the whole kind of Bodhisattva ideal and the Bodhisattva path, it's much more like flexible and much more dynamic and much more amenable to like the rapidly changing world that we live in. Our world now is so fluid and dynamic, and things are changing so quickly that you really need to have a kind of understanding of a spiritual path that you can easily adapt to situations and understand how to use transforming situations in a very positive way, for yourself and to benefit others. So that's the 6 perfections in short. But just I guess a final note in the Lamrim presentation, these last 2, meditative concentration and wisdom, there's an extensive, like in the Lamrim Chenmo Batsong Kappa, the last of it's like 3 volumes. The entire last volume, which is like more than 1/3 of the whole treatise, is just about these 2. And of that, like the most is about the perfection of wisdom. So all of the way to understand and meditate on emptiness is all discussed in the context of this 6th. So sorry, we don't have time for discussion after all. We only have 10 minutes left, and we want to read the King of Prayers too. So, but we have time for a few questions if you have any questions or comments. Yeah, Marian.
I was just thinking when you were talking about the Jesuit priests, one of the branch misdeeds associated with the perfection of wisdom is taking too much delight in studying other philosophies and putting too many. Yeah. The question I really have is most of the time when people have a sticking spot with the Bodhisattva vows, there's one of the branch vows. When you have compassion, it's the 11th branch vow. When you have compassion, there is no non-virtue. Can you say something about that one?
When you have compassion, there's no non-virtue?
Yeah, that's it's from this. I've been studying this one, Bodhisattva, and it goes through.
By whom? Who's the author? Dakpo Rinpoche. Yeah, I'm familiar with that commentary. Yeah, Dakpo Rinpoche.
It's one of the 9 misdeeds contrary to the perfection of ethical discipline. And this is the one that people bring up about the time that the Buddha, when he was a Bodhisattva, killed the guy who was going to kill all the people on the boat, and whether or not the ramifications for that were. That always comes up. What happens to the Bodhisattva that in keeping that branch vow commits an action like killing, which is contrary to all of the vows.
Maybe can you send the vow? Which branch vow is it? Can you send me an email?
Yeah.
Maybe I look up. I can't really answer well right now. I'd have to look it up and think about it a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't mean to make a rabbit hole, but
no, but yeah, that's a little bit more detailed than I haven't. Yeah, I have to. I don't just want to say something that's not kind of a half truth and stuff. So I'd rather, if you could just send me the branch vow, then I can look up and think about it a bit and then give you a better reply.
Thank you. Is it true that the Bodhisattva vows are the only vows you can, that they're durable beyond this lifetime?
No, tantric vows as well.
Tantric vows.
The pratimoksha vows you take until death, right? So when you take them, you think just until I pass away from this life. But the bodhisattva vows, you think I take them until I become fully enlightened. And tantric vows the same.
Too, yeah.
Yeah. Bodhisattva vows, you can study before you take them. Actually, you're encouraged. When you're thinking about if you want to take them or not, it's recommended to study them first and think whether you can really keep them or not. Whereas the pratimoksha and tantric vows you're not supposed to study before you take them. That is different. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If there's no more questions, then I'll just share one last verse with you, and then we'll dedicate with the King of Prayers. So back here. Okay, so there's this one quote I just wanted to share at the end from Shantideva, A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, where he says, like a blind person finding a jewel in a heap of garbage, by chance the spirit of enlightenment has arisen in me. So he's talking about the sort of sense of good fortune of having discovered this ideal of bodhicitta, and then actually, practicing and trying to generate it. So imagine we're a blind person. So imagine, you're blind. It's very difficult to make a living, to go here and there, and to find the things that you need, to find the things that you want. It's very, very difficult. And imagine you're also a very poor person. So you don't have, you don't have much wealth at all. And you make a living by just like searching through garbage. As you see here in India, in big rubbish heaps, sometimes you see kind of the people of lowest caste or the most at the bottom rungs of society, the very, very poor people. They they go pick through the garbage heaps just to to find things to recycle, or sometimes find valuables or other things that they can sell and make money. So imagine you're a blind person who's extremely impoverished like that, and you have a very difficult life. With a lot of suffering, sickness, hardship, uncertainty, fear, not to mention, the suffering of hunger and thirst and cold, being too cold, too hot. But then one day in a garbage heap, you find like a huge diamond, so that then, the rest of your life, you're completely set. Like you don't have to have any of those hardships anymore. And you have just incredible good fortune and comfort, security the rest of your life. So kind of like our situation of being, an ordinary sentient being in samsara is very similar to that. That when we think on the scale of our many rebirths, sometimes we take rebirth as an animal, sometimes as a human being with, all different kind of difficult circumstances, a lot of unhappiness, sickness, death again and again, sometimes as a hell being, a hungry ghost, even in a God realm, no interest in Dharma at all, just, distracted with worldly pleasures. But now this one life, just by chance, we've come upon this ideal of bodhicitta, this idea that as a sentient being, I have the potential to achieve full enlightenment. And that way my life can be infinitely beneficial to countless others. It's really like a precious diamond that through having that attitude, every action we do is transformed into something. It's a powerful virtue that becomes a cause for our own future happiness and the happiness of countless other sentient beings, and eventually will lead us to become fully enlightened. So it's kind of like that. We're kind of like a blind person who's been wandering through samsara, and then now this life, by chance, we happen upon this ideal of bodhicitta. And if we hold on to that and use it well, it'll lead us, like without a doubt, it'll lead us to the state of full enlightenment, which is unsurpassable, fulfillment of our highest potential, and within which we can, work infinitely to benefit other sentient beings. So it's really something extremely precious. So it's good to recognize that and rejoice. So we can rejoice in all the merit we've created in this module. By studying, thinking about, meditating on bodhicitta. So rejoice in one's own effort and the efforts of all the others in our class, in our group. And then we can rejoice in all the efforts, the merits created by countless other sentient beings ordinary beings like ourselves and holy beings from, in all different religious traditions, especially from Buddha Shakyamuni down to our own teachers of this life. And then we can dedicate with the King of Prayers. So sorry, this will take us a little bit over time, but not by much. I think I can increase it a bit more. I bow down to the youthful Arya Manjushri, you lions amongst humans, gone to freedom in the present, past, and future, in the worlds of 10 directions, to all of you with body, speech, and sincere mind, I bow down. With the energy of aspiration for the Bodhisattva way, with a sense of deep respect, with as many bodies as atoms of the world, to all you Buddhas visualized as real, I bow down. On every atom are Buddhas numberless as atoms, each amidst a host of Bodhisattvas, and I am confident the sphere of all phenomena is entirely filled with Buddhas in this way. With infinite oceans of praise for you and oceans of sound from the aspects of my voice, I sing the breathtaking excellence of Buddhas and celebrate all of you gone to bliss. Beautiful flowers and regal garlands, sweet music, scented oils and parasols, sparkling lights and sublime incense, I offer to you victorious ones. Fine dress and fragrant perfumes, sandalwood powder heaped high as Mount Meru, all wondrous offerings in spectacular array, I offer to you victorious ones. With transcendent offerings, peerless and vast, with profound admiration for all the Buddhas, with strength of conviction and the Bodhisattva way, I offer and bow down to all victorious ones. Every harmful action I have done with my body, speech, and mind, overwhelmed by attachment, anger, and confusion, all these I openly lay bare before you. I lift up my heart and rejoice in all positive potential of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in 10 directions, of solitary realizers, here is still training, and those beyond, and of all ordinary beings. You who are the bright lights of worlds in 10 directions, who have attained a Buddha's omniscience through the stages of awakening, all you who are my guides, please turn the supreme wheel of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly request, you who may actualize parinirvana, please stay with us for eons numberless as atoms of the world, for the happiness and well-being of all wonders and samsara. Whatever slight positive potential I may have created by paying homage, offering, and acknowledging my faults, rejoicing and requesting the Buddhas to stay and teach, I now dedicate all this for full awakening. May you Buddhas now living in worlds of 10 directions, all you gone to freedom in the past accept my offerings. May those not yet arisen quickly perfect their minds, awakening as fully enlightened ones. May all worlds in 10 directions be entirely pure and vast. May they be filled with bodhisattvas, surrounding Buddhas gathered beneath a Bodhi tree. May as many beings as exist in 10 directions be always well and happy. May all samsaric beings live in accord with the Dharma, and may their every Dharma wish be fulfilled. Remembering my past lives and all varieties of existence, may I practice the Bodhisattva way, and thus in each cycle of death, migration, and birth, may I always abandon the householder's life. Then following in the footsteps of all the Buddhas and perfecting the practice of a Bodhisattva, may I always act without error or compromise, with ethical discipline, faultless and pure. May I teach the Dharma in the language of gods and every language of spirits and nagas, of humans and of demons, and in the voice of every form of being. May I be gentle-minded, cultivating the 6 paramitas, and never forget bodhicitta. May I completely cleanse without omission every negativity and all that obscures this awakening mind. May I traverse in all my lives in the world, free of karma, afflictions, and interfering forces, just as the lotus blossom is undisturbed by the water's wave, just as the sun and moon move unhindered through the sky. May I ease the suffering in the lower realms and in the many directions and dimensions of the universe. May I guide all wonders in samsara to the pure bliss of awakening and be of worldly benefit to them as well. May I practice constantly for eons to come, perfecting the activities of awakening, acting in harmony with the various dispositions of beings, showing the ways of a bodhisattva. May I always have the friendship of those whose path is like mine, and with body, words, and also mind, may we practice together the same aspirations and activities. May I always meet a spiritual mentor and never displease that excellent friend who deeply wishes to help me and expertly teaches the bodhisattva way. May I always directly see the Buddhas, masters encircled by bodhisattvas, and without pause or discouragement for eons to come, may I make extensive offerings to them. May I hold within me the Buddha's genuine Dharma, illuminate everywhere the teachings that awaken, embody the realizations of a Bodhisattva, and practice ardently in all future eons. While circling through all states of existence, may I become an endless treasure of good qualities, skillful means, wisdom, samadhi, and liberating stabilizations, gathering limitless pristine wisdom and positive potential. On one atom I shall see Buddha fields numberless as atoms, inconceivable Buddhas among bodhisattvas in every field, practicing the activities of awakening. Perceiving this in all directions, I dive into an ocean of Buddha fields, each an ocean of 3 times Buddhas and the space of a wisp of hair. So I too will practice for eons of ocean, for an ocean of eons. Thus, I am continually immersed in the speech of the Buddhas, expression that reveals an ocean of qualities in one word, the completely pure eloquence of all the Buddhas, communication suited to the varied tendencies of beings. With strength of understanding, I plunge into the infinite enlightened speech of the Dharma, of all Buddhas and 3 times gone to freedom, who continually turn the wheel of Dharma methods. I shall experience in one moment such vast activity of all future eons, and I will enter into all eons of the 3 times in but a fraction of a second. In one instant, I shall see all those awakened beings, past, present, and future lions amongst humans, and with the power of the illusion-like stabilization, I will constantly engage in their inconceivable activity. I shall manifest upon one single atom the array of pure lands, present, past, and future. Likewise, I shall enter the array of pure Buddha fields in every direction without exception. I shall enter the very presence of all my guides, those lights of this world who are yet to appear, those sequentially turning the wheels of complete awakening, those who reveal nirvana, final perfect peace. May I achieve the power of swift magical emanation, the power to lead to the great vehicle through every approach, the power of always beneficial activity, the power of love pervading all realms, the power of all surpassing positive potential, the power of supreme knowledge unobstructed by discrimination, and through the powers of wisdom, skillful means, and samadhi, may I achieve the perfect power of awakening. Purifying the power of all contaminated actions, crushing the power of disturbing emotions at their root, diffusing the power of interfering forces, I shall perfect the power of the Bodhisattva practice. May I purify an ocean of worlds, may I free an ocean of beings, may I clearly see an ocean of Dharma, may I realize an ocean of pristine wisdom. May I purify an ocean of activities. May I fulfill an ocean of aspirations. May I make offerings to an ocean of Buddhas. May I practice without discouragement for an ocean of eons. To awaken fully through the Bodhisattva way, I shall fulfill without exception all the diverse aspirations of the awakening practice of all Buddhas gone to freedom in the 3 times everywhere. In order to practice exactly as the wise one called Samantabhadra, all-embracing good, the elder brother of the sons and daughters of the Buddhas, I completely dedicate all this goodness. Likewise, may I dedicate just as the skillful Samantabhadra, with pure body, speech, and mind, pure actions, and pure Buddha fields. I shall give rise to these aspirations of Manjushri for this Bodhisattva practice of all-embracing good, to perfect these practices without discouragement or pause in all future eons. May my practice of activities be endless, my good qualities boundless, and through abiding in immeasurable activity, may I actualize infinite emanations. Limitless is the end of space. Likewise, limitless are living beings. Thus, limitless are karma and afflictions. May my aspirations reach be limitless as well. One may offer to the Buddhas all wealth and adornments of infinite worlds in 10 directions, and one may offer during eons numberless as atoms of the world, even the greatest happiness of gods and humans. But whoever hears this extraordinary aspiration and longing for highest awakening gives rise to faith just once, creates far more precious positive potential. Those who make this heartfelt aspiration for the Bodhisattva way will be free of all lower rebirths, free of harmful companions, and will quickly see Amitabha infinite light. And even in this very human life, they will be nourished by happiness and have all conducive circumstances. Without waiting long, they will become like Samantabhadra himself. Those who give voice to this extraordinary aspiration will quickly and completely purify the 5 boundless harmful actions created under the power of ignorance. Blessed with supreme knowledge, excellent body, family attributes, and appearance, they will be invincible to vast interfering forces and misleading teachers, and all the 3 worlds will make offerings. going quickly to the noble Bodhi tree and sitting there to benefit sentient beings, subduing all interfering forces, they will fully awaken and turn the great wheel of Dharma. Have no doubt that complete awakening is a fully ripened result, comprehended only by a Buddha, of holding in mind by teaching, reading, or reciting this aspiration of the Bodhisattva practice. In order to train just like the hero Manjushri, who knows reality as it is, and just like Samantabhadra as well, I completely dedicate all this goodness just as they did. With that dedication, which is praised as greatest by all the Buddhas gone to freedom in the 3 times, I too dedicate all my roots of goodness for the attainment of the Bodhisattva practice. When the moment of my death arrives, by eliminating all obscurations and directly perceiving Amitabha, may I go immediately to Sukhavati, the pure land of great joy. Having gone to Sukhavati, may I actualize the meaning of these aspirations, fulfilling them all without exception for the benefit of beings for as long as this world endures. Born from an extremely beautiful superlative lotus in this joyful land, the Buddha's magnificent mandala, may I receive a prediction of my awakening directly from the Buddha Amitabha. Having received a prediction there, may I create vast benefit for beings throughout the 10 directions with a billion emanations by the power of wisdom. Through even the small virtue I have accumulated by offering this prayer of the Bodhisattva practice, may all the positive aspirations of beings be fulfilled in an instant. Through creating limitless positive potential, by dedicating this prayer of Samantabhadra's deeds, may all beings drowning in this torrent of suffering enter the presence of Amitabha. Through this king of aspirations, which is the greatest of the sublime, helping infinite wonders in samsara, through the accomplishment of this scripture dazzling with Samantabhadra's practice, may suffering realms be utterly emptied of all beings. So add any other prayers you'd like to make, personal dedications. So may all your prayers be fulfilled as well. May all of our teachers have long and stable lives, and may the Buddha Dharma and all of the spiritual teachings that are beneficial for sentient beings flourish in the world. So thank you all, and see you next time after 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. So in the meantime, try to meditate on Bodhichitta a little bit. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Venerable Woodstock, Marianne and Urs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Enjoy the teachings.
Thanks.